Welcome to the Lone Chemist Podcast.
Let's go.
Word. All right, everybody. So thank you very much for joining us. This is the Lone Chemist Podcast. This is episode 10. My name is Johnny. I'm the Lone Chemist, and the people wanted it, so the people got it. We have Alex Hunter from Hitop Films back.
I'm back. I'm rejuvenated. I'm better than ever.
Yeah, you're like Rocky. You've been training in the warehouse to try and get yourself.
Man.
Yeah, exactly. Word. So today we got a pretty fascinating topic because Alex and I love the DCEU so much.
It's my favorite thing.
Yeah, exactly. We'll be talking about it again. We'll be talking about a different DCEU superhero that's a complete clusterfuck. But before we get into that, I wanted to give a quick thank you to our sponsor for this video. So my good buddy Dave, who I grew up with way back in the day, he is a supplement rep for a company called Redcon One, and I wouldn't be doing the sponsorship unless I actually use the products. I've been using Redcon One before he even started there, and also after he started there, I've been basically doing all of their product spreads, and they're fantastic. So they sell really, really high-quality protein, as well as pre-workouts, creatine, muscle stacks, and pretty much everything that you need to get back in shape at the gym. So if you go to redcon1.com and you get a buttload of stuff, use the checkout code MEATHEAD20. I'll put it at the bottom of the screen and the link in the description. Check them out. And yeah, really great products at a really competitive price for what you get. And saving 20% off the entire purchase is pretty good too. So redcon1.com, and the checkout code is MEATHEAD20. All right, we got it. So let's get into it. So Alex, just first off, a lot of my viewers liked what you had to say about Batman last time.
Oh,
and
dope.
Yeah, and of course, I was gonna bring on to talk about Spider-Man for the 400th time.
Yeah, like my 50th video. That video blew up. I just uploaded today.
Yeah, so people listening, Alex, of course, if you've watched before, does some pretty awesome video essays on media, and specifically, he's been doing kind of an expose into Spider-Man, and he did a video essay on the cinematic qualities of the PS4 game Spider-Man that just got released. I just beat it myself, and it's awesome. But yeah, that video was awesome, man, and you really did a good job with it. The skit,
nice,
it was as cringy as you said it was going to be over our text and stuff. And
yeah, nice.
It was funny as shit.
Did you stick around to the end credits? Did you watch the 2001 bit where I?
Yep, the Star Child. Yeah,
was that funny?
Whose face was that? Your face?
That was Brian Intihar. That's the game director's face I threw on there at the end.
I was so confused because I was like, dude, who the fuck is that?
That's kind of the point of the joke, because I mentioned him earlier in the video, and he looks different in that photo. I got the memeiest photo of him, but I was like, I need to put the Patreon credits somewhere, so I threw that in there.
Nice. And did you make the the cover of the Zathurus? I think that's the name of the classical song they used. Did you get a cover of that on YouTube?
Yeah,
so it wouldn't be demonetized. Yeah, I used that as a channel intro one time, and it instantly within a matter of seconds got demonetized. So
I used I think it's Kevin something. He's the go-to royalty free music guy. There's a little shout out for him.
There you go. Nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, on that subject, great video. I agree with pretty much everything. I had a couple issues with the story, but it wasn't anything that would detract from my overall experience of the game. And while we're on the subject, I thought some of the combat stuff, even though it was really smooth, I'm not a fan of the whole gadget aspect of Spider-Man. I'm just kind of the web bombs and the different suit mods. It kind of brought me out of the aesthetic that I look for in a Spider-Man game, where
Spider-Man.
it's when you look at a Spider-Man game, it's okay, what's Peter Parker's power? It's just him. There isn't really a lot of help that he gets. But I mean, that's a really, really small ticky-tack.
Yeah. I can feel that too. But I feel if we're viewing it as a game and needed to have some extra thing to the combat. Sure. So I understand why they did it, but I get the whole no gadget thing. But I was happy he built it himself, unlike in Homecoming, which I have a video on. I can plug that too. But
the suit segment of your video.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm glad that he's doing it himself. At least he built all that stuff himself, and then the suit, Octavius, spoiler alert, Otto built the new suit for him, but still, it was his designs and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I was a fan of that, and but yeah, like even though I had some problems with it, I was talking about this in my podcast appearance on the Secret Podcast. I don't think when I was a little kid, I really could have thought up a better Spider-Man game than that.
Oh, no way.
Like,
yeah.
It's like if I was a kid playing that, I'd be like, this is like I am Spider-Man.
Yeah, I said that in this video, but like if that was a Netflix show, if that game universe was turned into a Netflix show, flawless. Like that is such a good way to do a modern adult Spider-Man, like grab a new audience, and that game sold so well. So now my thing is the issue is going to be that everyone's going to want that Peter Parker on the big screen, but he's still like, 15, however old he's supposed to be, 16.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Tom Holland. Nothing against Holland, but I mean, people are going to want the more mature Spider-Man now.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like that could be explained with like just a simple plot jump. It's like, X amount of time in between each movie. But
in between each movie. But I think they'll ride it out. So like in 8 years when I'm a grown ass man, then, he'll be that age in the movies that he is in the game.
Yeah. And then also Tom Holland, what is he? He's like 22, 23 right now.
I think so, yeah.
He's going to be like, lower 30s when he's like that old as Peter Parker.
Yeah, when he's supposed to be like 23, he'll be like 33 probably at the way they make movies, how long it takes. But
yeah, aging in movies is a very interesting thing for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so now that we talked about that, which we can't resist because obviously we're fucking dorks. And
yeah, and it's a great game. Go buy it. Sure. Go buy it.
Speaking of games, have you played God of War for PS4?
My friend has it and installed it on my PlayStation, and I think I'm like a third of the way through, but then I just got busy with YouTube and I haven't gone back to play it. But when I get some free time, I want to finish it for sure.
Yeah, dude, like aside from Spider-Man, that was like probably my favorite game that I've played like so far, like in the last, not just this year, but the last couple of years. It's fantastic.
Yeah, for me, I liked BioShock Infinite, if you've ever played that. Like the last BioShock game was great.
Oh, they did one more? I never played Infinite. I only played the first one back on like 360 when it first came out like years ago.
Yeah, the same friend who had God of War, he's big into gaming. He got me the BioShock collection. That third game's so good. That story's so good. But the Arkham games and Spider-Man are like definitely my top 3 games, period.
Oh, for sure. Like the Arkham games, specifically Arkham Knight, I think it's just a masterpiece. Like,
yeah, it's so great.
Yeah, it's so
Spider-Man is the Arkham, like Spider-Man PS4 is the Arkham game.
Yeah, for sure.
The Marvel brand, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that transcendent, like single player masterpiece.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so we talked about that, which is a nice little, what is it, like a 7-minute aside of just fanboydom.
Yeah.
Let's get into it, man. So, for people who are listening and haven't been keeping up with movie news, there's been a pretty big development in our favorite franchise, the DC Extended Universe. Henry Cavill, for lack of a better term, is done as Superman. And so I read a couple different articles where like it wasn't really clear if he was done as the character for the single movies or done with it, period, or maybe he'll have cameos in the actual ones that are going to come up fairly shortly. But yeah, for what I can see, the character is done, which it's not really unexpected because, I mean, Henry Cavill's kind of been on a fire streak recently. Like he's been in the Mission Impossible movie as the villain and some other stuff where he's actually been pretty good. And yeah,
I was just going to say that like no one's sure because he made that cryptic. Did you see the Instagram post where he just like had the Superman toy come into frame and that's all he said about it? Like that's all he said.
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, maybe he took it down, but on his Instagram the day that it came out that he wasn't playing Superman, his agent tweeted, "Oh, we're still talking to Warner Brothers." And then Henry Cavill tweeted like an image where this music was playing and he's wearing like a Kryptonian gym shirt. And he just slowly brings up this Man of Steel toy into frame. And then that's like his whole thing. Like there's no comment. It says like today was an interesting day. Whatever that means.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, I really hope that it's not meme culture that like, kind of like ran with that story and like, made it up because for people who are listening and also from our last conversation, I don't really have any fond feelings towards pretty much any character in the DCEU.
None. Yeah.
So it's like So let's go into basically like the formation of this huge development. So obviously Henry Cavill is the one who they were trying to make their quote-unquote Iron Man-esque character in this universe where they were taking a character, and obviously Superman is much more iconic than Iron Man at the time they released it, but they were going to have this franchise kind of ride on the backs of Cavill. And The fact
it didn't
that
work out.
Yeah, exactly. The fact that he's stepping down. We've seen all the stuff about Ben Affleck and other directors and screenwriters like coming in and out of the picture, but as devastating to those as they may have been for Warner Brothers, I think this one is pretty symbolically significant for them.
Yeah, if they don't have a Superman, like, what's the point in doing a Justice League? What's the point in doing... Now they're going to try and do Supergirl to piggyback off, like, the Wonder Woman success. And it's just like, what are they doing? It makes no sense.
No, for sure.
And Cavill never even got to play Superman. That's my take. He never got to play the real Superman.
So that's what I wanted to get into with you. So let's talk about Superman just generally as a character. He's a Boy Scout. That's what he is. And I think that some people can look at that as a character in the comics and be like, okay, this is a really vanilla character, and this is like really boring, which is some of the fear that was around Man of Steel to begin with. But
I think that's why Man of Steel is the way it is, because they're like, we can't make Superman boring.
Yeah,
but I don't think being a Boy Scout means you're boring necessarily.
Yeah, like to have him have that kind of moral superiority ingrained into his character, I think is important for somebody who is acting alongside, morally not very clear people, like for example Batman.
Yeah, of course.
Or Aquaman, who in the movie or Justice League is kind of like a surfer bro, and he's not really that great of a person, to be honest. And
just like the Chug Jack as he walks down the street in slow motion with his like abs showing in his arms.
I mean, all right, I will be honest, I hated that movie, but I do like Jason Momoa just like having dreadlocks and like slugging a bottle of Jack. That was kind of badass, even though the whole movie was just kind of like
that's
an
that. Yeah. My hot take for the day, exclusive to the podcast, is at least on. I mean, in Justice League, he acted like Superman. He may have had a freaking fucking CG lip, but like that was the closest we've got in the DC movies. When he comes back smiling and stuff, it was weird because the last two movies he spent being this like quiet, stoic guy that wasn't really Superman-ish. And he gets raised from the dead by Ben Affleck, and then all of a sudden he's like, I'm chipper Superman now. I'm going to finally fucking act like Superman with my CG lip.
Yeah, like, we'll get into the whole CG lip thing in a little bit. Trust me, I have no shortage of things to say about that. But like you said, even the Justice League, of course I didn't like it, but even though it was a really weird scene, that first thing where like it's like the iPhone video and it's like
that's filming. A genius idea, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And not only like the actual execution of that, but that actually cemented like the actual idea of Superman as we know him in the comics, where he's like this kind of Boy Scout. He's helping people. He's sticking out for the little guy. He's not like this really onerous and pedantic dark dude, and he actually is like the guy you would imagine saving a kitten in the tree. So
yeah, exactly how it should be. And that did that. How long is that intro scene on the phone? It's like a minute.
Not even. It's like fucking. It's like 2 lines of dialogue from him, a couple from the people behind the camera, and
the kids. Yeah, because you got Joss Whedon, who probably actually like likes the character of Superman and understands the character of Superman, who like did probably the best he could on that movie
for sure.
Which everyone throws shade at him for ruining Snyder's vision, but my whole thing is like, if they had to hire him in the first place, I bet Snyder's vision wasn't that sound. But that 1 minute scene had more character development and more like it just represented Superman more than 2 3-hour movies did.
Yeah, and I don't even know if it's like character development, but like it's an actual accurate representation of the moral superiority of the character.
Yeah, I mean, that was a wrong word. I'm sorry. There is no development in any of those movies for him.
I was gonna say, man, like, because using the word development and DC in the same sentence, that's a bold take.
You can only have one D word in that. It's either DC or development. Otherwise, it's fucked.
Or another word that's a little more offensive, but that's
for sure.
So let's talk about I guess I guess the intended direction that Superman was going to take in Man of Steel before we get into like all of the speculation and things. So they wrote Man of Steel in like 2013 it came out, and they like I said, they intended for that to be the kind of Kickstarter for the franchise. And let's leave aside that the movie was just not very good. I think that it gets kind of a bad rap, and it's not like a complete abortion, but it is very, very bad, and it's too long, and it's just like kind of boring, and there's no joy in it.
for me as a Superman fan, it's like it's horrible.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's definitely the most like it's the most cohesive DC movie besides Wonder Woman, I think, for sure. 100%. Like it has a beginning, middle, and end. Unlike Batman v Superman, which is just like shit.
Yeah, but it's so weird because like even though they cut it as like a Quentin Tarantino movie where it's like they start at the beginning, then go to the middle, and they go a little bit backwards, then all the way forwards.
Yeah,
like,
they did the Batman Begins structure because David Goyer wrote the exact same script but just tried to play Superman in the Batman role. But then you don't have Chris Nolan to like bail Goyer out.
Yeah, let's talk about that actually a little bit. So I think the first trailer for that dropped during The Dark Knight Rises, when it was like. Obviously Nolan had a lot of notoriety because he was like the guy who single-handedly saved the Batman franchise. Yeah. And so I feel like they said like executive producer like Chris Nolan. I guarantee you that Chris Nolan had not a thing to do with that movie. And they just put him on there for credence because it's Chris Nolan who's like, has oversight in the movie.
Well, the way they spun it, I remember reading that he handpicked Zack Snyder to direct Man of Steel. Which I don't believe for a second that they're just such different filmmakers. Nolan's all about character and sometimes lacks on like the visuals, and Snyder's all about visuals and has absolutely no character.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think maybe that one, because there are like a few pictures of Nolan on the set, like maybe he came for like 2 days. But of any of the movies, I think if Nolan had anything to do with any of them, it's for sure Man of Steel, and I don't know what he had to do with it. He was probably there like one day on the set. But, I mean, Zach always talks about how Nolan tried to convince him not to kill Zod. And I was like, thank you, Chris, for trying to for saying the right thing and being like, yeah, maybe don't have Superman snap someone's neck in a movie made for children with the intention of selling toys.
Well, so, like, and this is the same thing that we talk about with the Batman movies, where it's like, okay, you can have him do those things, but you have to earn it. You can't just have him be
at all.
You can't just have him be like a dark, brooding character and then basically have nothing there to motivate him actually killing Zod except for like, the Deus Ex Machina family who's going to be killed with a laser beam. I mean, that's such a cheap way of storytelling.
He didn't seem to care when Zod throws a truck at him and he jumps over the truck and the truck explodes. He didn't seem to care about those people dying because it looked cool. But then, that little family, that's the final straw. Like thousands of people died in Metropolis, but that family in the corner, that's what gets him to kill Zod.
Yeah, it's fuck,
I just went on an Armored Penguin. He has like a smaller YouTube channel, but he's growing right now. We just had a long debate about Man of Steel that lasted 3 hours.
When, today?
No, not today. Like a few weeks ago.
I was gonna say, like, I don't think I could talk about Superman, at least this representation of Superman, for like more than like 2 hours, and I want to kill myself.
No, but he just thinks the movie gets like you said, it gets a bad rap, and I understand that perspective because at least it's a film. Yeah, I wouldn't even call Batman v Superman Justice League or Suicide Squad films. They're just trailers for the DC brand.
Okay, so now we're on that subject. Suicide Squad. Did you hear about how basically like Trailer Park or whatever
edited
and that's why it feels like a 2.5 hour trailer for a movie that just never happens.
It feels like have you watched like the freaking Purple Lamborghini music video?
No.
Yeah. Jared Leto's in that. It feels like a music video. The whole movie feels like this like quick cut damn music video that feels like that music video, and it's just that's like the worst. That may be the worst edited movie I've ever seen.
Oh, 100%, dude. Like I'm a complete amateur at Final Cut, and I probably could do a better job at editing than that person did.
Yeah, because you at least understand the fundamentals of how to cut something.
Yeah, and also how to make a scene. Like you have to establish place and time and stakes,
personality and character, and
Yeah, because like the shots don't make the scene. The setting and everything else that's more aesthetic and not really in the shot makes the scene. It's the feeling that you're actually in a room or in a field or wherever the hell it is. And that movie just...
It's like
yeah, exactly. It's just terrible.
Yeah. But I think Cavill gets... I don't know. Like, I don't think he's the best actor on the planet. I think he'd be really good as Superman if he got to play Superman.
He looks genetically engineered to play Clark Kent. Like, he literally... Like if you sat me down and said, okay, I want you to draw like a police sketch or something of Superman, I would probably lend something close to Henry Cavill. He looks exactly like him. It's crazy.
He looks like him, and if you've ever watched an interview with him, like, all you would have to do, this is why Man of Steel just confuses me, is take Cavill, okay? Drop him on the set in front of the camera, and just tell him to switch to an American accent. because he's like the most in real life. All these interviews, he's so much more charming than he is ever in these movies.
Yeah, like he never even cracks a joke or smiles except for like the last 10 minutes of fucking Man of Steel.
Yeah, and it's just I don't know. I just don't. Why would I guess because The Dark Knight, it's indirectly Chris Nolan's fault that Man of Steel turned out the way it was, but I just don't know if like who is running Warner Brothers. That they first of all they hire the guy who made Sucker Punch and Watchmen.
Oh,
okay,
Sucker Punch. To be fair, Watchmen I don't think is a terrible film.
Oh, neither do I.
Yeah,
but I mean to do Superman.
But it's overlong and it's dark and it's grotesque and it's like a shot-for-shot remake of a graphic novel. And this is something that actually I've talked about in other podcasts that I've done with some of my friends. Abdallah, I think I did this in like maybe episode 4 or 5. So we were talking about basically Zack Snyder as a director. If he was only the director of photography or the executive, like I guess special effects advisor, he would be fantastic because he knows how to craft epic visuals and like color correct things and like make them look pretty and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, but I maybe not all the color, but like the framing of action sequences, he does a great job with that. But he should have no business even being remotely close to the writing room at all.
The writing or like just direction of actors, because I feel like if you watch all, because I'm a Snyder, like I'm obsessed with Snyder. Just like how did this man get to where he is directing like Batman and Superman, right? You go back and watch like Dawn of the Dead, which has a script written by James Gunn, who's all about character, you know, and then he directs it. But then I just don't think he can, like I don't know if he can't read or if he can't. It's just. He doesn't get it. He just doesn't get how people work. Because in every Zack Snyder movie, I don't think there's a single human interaction in any of them that feels genuine.
Yeah, it feels like, you know, obviously like the foray of a bad actor is like you see the actor actually struggling to get the lines out, or you see them actually like pretending to be something. When the actor, it's just a vehicle for the idea of a character when it really comes down to it.
Yeah.
And so that brings up another point where Zack Snyder should never ever be close to the writing room because he does very, very well when you give him source material to work from. When you give him a graphic novel to remake shot for shot like 300 or Watchmen or even Dawn of the Dead, which is a reimagining of an old movie and written by a guy who actually writes decent scripts. Like those movies are actually watchable and I actually enjoy them. Like I'm Greek, so I have a soft spot for fucking 300.
300's like a lot of fun. It's fucking fun to watch.
Yeah,
and Watchmen's like a beautiful movie to look at. And look at Watchmen, right? So like Jackie Earle Haley is fantastic. Patrick Wilson is Night Owl, great. Because those guys are great actors, okay? Like phenomenal actors in general. But then you get to whoever played Silk Spectre. I don't know her name. The
Helen
actress.
Ackerman.
Yeah, and she's like bad in that movie.
Oh, not just bad, like irredeemably bad.
But my philosophy about this is because Snyder's not a good actors director. He doesn't like get what he needs from the actors. So you have someone like Cavill, right? Who could under good direction could play a fantastic Superman.
Yeah, exactly.
But Snyder doesn't really focus on character. He doesn't really focus on actors, I don't think. I don't know the guy. He could be like so Amy Adams, even though she has nothing to do in Man of Steel, you watch that movie, she gives a better performance than Henry Cavill, in my opinion. Michael Shannon,
absolutely.
Fantastic actor. And Zod's like the best part about that movie because Michael Shannon's a great actor.
Yeah.
But then Cavill, who maybe needs a director to like hold his hand a bit and maybe needs a director to guide him the right way, is taking this charming guy, Henry Cavill, who's like the most smiley fucking dude in real life.
Yeah.
And then making him play this like stoic, serious, confused Superman. It's just like, what the fuck? Someone let this go? Someone at the studio was like, we'll get the guy who's like like he wanted to direct Watchmen. Like Sucker Punch is his passion project. And those are like fine movies. I even like Sucker Punch, but what about those screams that guy should direct Superman? I have no fucking clue.
Well, I feel like in that sense, they saw what he did with amazing visuals, and they saw what he did with bringing a graphic novel-esque story to life. So I feel like in that sense, Marvel was like doing their own thing with that kind of lighter tone and kind of nonchalant aspects in the films that they had thus far, like up until like what is it, 2013 or something like that.
Yeah.
So
when
like
they switched.
Yeah, exactly. So they basically, I think that they picked Snyder because he's handled fairly big franchises or fairly big property names, and they
made money.
Yeah, exactly. And so I just feel like they really dropped the ball. And this is something that's really weird. Like before we get into more, I guess, dissection of Superman's character, the fact that he not only got one try and not only got 2 tries, but he got 3 tries, and they were all critically and financially flops. That's crazy, because like
I was shocked that they let him do Batman v Superman after
Me
Man of
too.
Steel got like a 50 on Rotten Tomatoes, and it barely made enough money.
Yeah, it barely surpassed its own like investment budget, which is just nuts. And like most directors don't even get the first try at something like huge like that.
Superman.
Let alone 3 tries. And the first 2 tries, actually all of them, to be completely honest with you, are just lackluster and kind of crappy.
Yeah, and Batman v Superman is like known as the worst superhero movie in the last whatever. Like Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad are like some of the worst superhero movies of all time, in my opinion. But like,
For sure.
I'm pretty sure besides like the really loyal fan base of Snyder and Batman v Superman, which they're allowed to like what they like. Like if you like that movie in general, not you. I know you don't like it, but I mean, like if you're a fan of those movies, like I have nothing against you. I want to get that across because I get shit for it all the time. Like what you like, but it's just, to me, I can't watch those movies because it just takes a shit on characters that I literally learned to read. Like I learned to read through these characters.
Dude, exactly. And like, and like we said this in the first podcast. This is out of love for the characters. We're shitting on them, not because like we want to pan the film because we think it's funny. I mean, it's kind of funny to have Snyder memes, but like we actually, like, I grew up with DC, and like I said, even I was a comic book fan when I was a kid. Still am to some degree. And even though I thought that Marvel wrote better comics in terms of stories, I think that characters in DC are far superior than a lot of people in Marvel. I mean,
I mean, the fact that like the Justice League made less money than Thor Ragnarok is the most ridiculous. Yeah, and Ant-Man is the most absurd thing. We said this last time, but like Superman, that first Superman movie, that Richard Donner Superman movie, of course it's dated and cheesy, but it holds up. Like you watch it today. Yeah, it holds up very well because it gets the heart of the character right. And that was like a cultural phenomenon. That movie was like Superman, Superman, Superman. Everyone was so hyped about it that they made 4 movies, and like Superman 3 and 4 are terrible. And Returns is even like broody, parts of Superman Returns, but I think it still nails the character. But then like what triggered them? I guess it must be The Dark Knight to just make Superman dark.
Yeah, so let's get into that. We kind of had an aside here shitting on Zack Snyder. Let's talk about, so the interpretation of Superman in Man of Steel was that they took this kind of moral superiority that the guy has in all the other films and comics and every other kind of source material that he has, and basically they took him and they said, okay, how do we make this character down to earth? Well, obviously, like, if you look at, I guess, interpretation of Superman that would happen in real life, and me as a scientist, I can actually appreciate this. He's an alien. Like like if Superman actually existed in real life, it would be the most important scientific discovery ever made.
Of course, I like that angle.
Me too, but you have to have somebody who knows how to write a script and someone who knows how to shoot the camera.
Yeah. Well, my thing is, like, I just talked about this on the other podcast, but like, if you were doing that alien angle, which is a fine angle, that he feels alienated, even that like the world doesn't accept him at first. The whole point of Superman is that he's an alien, but he's also the most human like character in the whole Justice League. He is the ultimate human, even though he's an alien. He like has the most compassion. He has the most heart. He's like the most righteous of the bunch, you know?
Yeah, I was just going to say that because like he's and so to expand on that, he's an alien, but he embodies the very best of humanity because he's slightly ignorant too. Like he's slightly like, okay, this is a world that I've been kind of thrust into, and even though humans do really fucked up things, I give them the benefit of the doubt because I've seen how good they can be. And he represents, literally, he is the embodiment of unrelenting compassion that like a mother would show to their baby.
Yeah, and it's just crazy that you can David Goyer could have written that angle and it would have been fine. The alien invasion, you know, like First Contact movie, where Zod comes down, Clark feels alone, and then I guess the point of Man of Steel, what I got from it thematically, was at the end he kills Zod because he chooses humanity over Kryptonians. He like kills the last of his kind so that he can be like fully a human. Then Lois says, "Welcome to the planet" at the end of the movie. I know, which made me like chuckle.
The most heavy-handed thing ever, but yeah, go on.
It's David Goyer. I don't know. It's of course it's heavy-handed, but it's just he never arrives. I never see him be human in that movie though. He feels like a fucking weird alien the whole movie.
Yeah, dude.
There's like nothing. There's nothing compassionate about him in that. Okay, Lois in that movie, their relationship is horrible. There's no development, and all of a sudden they're making out at the end of the movie. And like if you're gonna reboot Superman, okay, I think that you need to first off establish more stuff about Smallville, because the only thing we know about him in Smallville is that Pete Ross, who, like, I'm a big Superman nerd, so I'm gonna go on a tangent, but like
go ahead,
Pete Ross, who in the comics and in Smallville the show and in everything has always been like Clark's best friend. He calls him freaking, like, he says Dick Splash. Like, that's his one line in the movie. He says Dick Splash, and then the bus crashes, and then Clark rescues him. And then later in the movie, Clark's getting bullied, and then Pete Ross helps him up. But the entire movie, all you see from his childhood was him being treated like an alien and being treated horribly.
Yeah.
So why the fuck am I supposed to buy that this guy wants to save the world and wants to be the ultimate caring guy if all I've seen is him suffer the whole freaking movie?
Exactly, because, and this goes to another point, it's like, to bring this super-powered god-like character down to Earth, they thought that they had to make him reticent and conflicted about helping humanity. And so, like, they have all that shit where he's suffering. Like, he's really suffering. Like, the whole bar fight scene when he gets the drinks poured on him and he's called a freak. And the first time he has his powers and stuff and he gets, like, you know, ostracized. Or
and his dad's like, maybe you shouldn't save people, you know? And that's just, I just hate all that. I hate it all.
Exactly. And, like, so in an attempt to bring this character down to Earth, I understand what they were trying to do, but they brought him down to Earth in a way where that literally is not the character that they were going to put on screen.
At all.
It completely bastardizes it. And then it makes us not buy into it, because not only is he a guy who you can't really, like, rely on and depend upon for moral superiority, but you also... You see him just completely vulnerable with no redeeming aspects. Like, you see him struggle to save humanity, but internally, like, he doesn't, like you said, doesn't really have that much of a reason to want to save people, which is like, so weird.
He just doesn't have any character. That whole, like, he gets told things by Russell Crowe as Jor-El in these, like, long speeches, like, you can be the bridge between people, like, you can save them all, but he never decides anything for himself. It's always being told by, like, Kevin Costner, being told by Russell Crowe what he's supposed to do. And Cavill just has no material to work with. So the fact that what probably, in my head, what's happening at Warner Brothers right now, to go back to the main point, is Cavill's like, okay, I was in Mission Impossible. That made a lot of money. I want more money to play Superman. Because I've been in these, like, critical and financial flops. And if I'm going to play Superman, like, I want some creative control and I want more money, which is reasonable.
Yeah.
Because, like, why would, like, how is Cavill supposed to trust in whatever direction they take the character if he is, like, the weakest link of the entire Justice League is because Superman wasn't developed?
Yeah, not only that, but also, I mean, so because he's gotten to be a better actor over time and been in, like, successful movies, it's kind of embarrassing as an actor, I imagine, to, like, be associated with movies that are, you know, the laughing stock of pretty much every single action movie that's ever been made.
Yeah.
Which is, like and not only that,
Martha.
But, like...
Yeah, like his delivery.
We'll get into that. We'll get into that. but like the whole thing is, like, as an actor, you want your career to actually mean something and be reputable. And when you're constantly associating yourself with movies that are, you know, it's become a meme that basically, like, you know, DC movies are shit, which sucks because there are people. I'm sure that there are people behind the scenes that actually understand these characters and are heartbroken because,
for sure,
yeah, they can't represent the characters as they want to perceive them. But this honestly is, like, the biggest indictment on studio interference of anything I've ever seen. Like, I understood studio interference, like, in things like, for example, Batman and Robin, when they had the Batman MasterCard and shit, like,
or like
that,
Batman '89 and with Prince music and shit
Prince,
like that.
Prince music and Nike boots and whatever the fuck else they did. But, like, when they do stuff like that, it just draws us out of the movie. Like, and honestly, like, I don't understand why Warner Brothers thinks that they really have to get their dirty little grits on every single movie, because if they just trusted the filmmakers like Marvel did with their cinematic universe, like Jon Favreau had no business fucking starting a franchise with Iron Man, but they let him do his thing, have his voice, and it's one of the best action movies and also probably one of the best franchise starters ever.
Oh, for fucking sure. I just saw the first Iron Man again in theaters during the re-release.
Fantastic.
And it's honest to God, better than like 90% of the action movies that come out today. Like, it's cohesive, and it's a fucking miracle because half the movie is supposedly improv off an outline with Downey, Favreau, and like Jeff Bridges. But it works because they were like, okay, go ahead, Jon Favreau, make your movie.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I feel like the pressure of all these other universes that have sprung up, I feel like it pushed Warner Brothers to be like, okay, we really have to have control over this one so we can really start this off right.
Yeah.
And it just blew up in their faces because not only did they not let the director, well, I mean, not letting Zack Snyder have a voice is kind of a positive, but like, but so they didn't let the directors and the screenwriters and the actors have their own voice or interpretation of the characters, but also they had them do that, and also they completely misunderstood the characters they were trying to put on the screen.
Completely. It's just like, how the fuck could you fuck up like the basic fundamental Batman doesn't kill people, and then just have him straight up not just kill people like in the Burton movies where he like indirectly kills people and wants to kill the Joker, but like just gun down people like we talked about last time, and then just have a Superman who is the most unlikable, like least interesting. You made him more boring. I would rather read about the Boy Scout. Like I never want to see fucking Man of Steel or BVS Superman again, where he just stands there and complains and just sits there and it's like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with his fucking that one face where his like his forehead's like that. Yeah, exactly. The whole time, like he's like fucking posing for a Gucci ad. The whole time, like every scene. And I don't blame Cavill, because any director would be like, dude, like don't do that. Be more charming. Be yourself. Be natural. Feel looser. Like you're not this like statue, and that's what he feels like the whole entire movie. Yeah, both movies.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the most wooden performance I've ever seen in my life. Like you got to.
It's up there. Yeah, it's like up there. I'm trying to think of like a performance where I was like, damn.
I have one that's more wooden. I've only seen one of the Twilight films, but Bella in Twilight.
Oh yeah.
What's happening here, Edward?
But the sad thing is, Cavill's like not that far off from that in Man of Steel.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I don't blame him, because he seems to have like his dog is named Cal, and like he reads Superman comics, and obviously I think he gets the character. And then I was reading these interviews to prepare for talking about this today, where he was like, I was happy with Justice League because Joss came in. He didn't specifically say Joss because, you know, he has respect for Snyder, and of course he does because he cast him as Superman in the first place. Yeah. He was like, I was glad I finally got to play like the image that everyone has of Superman in their heads.
Exactly.
So like if he's aware of the fact that when he had the CG lip, he was doing a better Superman performance than he was in the first two movies, why the hell would he want to stick around unless they're going to give him way more money and way more control?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. Where it's like I said earlier, it's like the actors have to be embarrassed. I mean, like look at Ben Affleck, for example. I mean, Ben Affleck is still officially Batman in the universe, but like he's somebody who's won an Oscar for the best script, won an Oscar for best script and best picture in the same year.
Picture,
has won multiple best actor awards, not in the Oscars, but in other awards as well. Like also, he's somebody who has lended himself to a really, really artful craft of filmmaking, and then to have him have this is just terrible.
Well, because I bet you they came to him and were like, hey, you want to do Batman? And he was like, no, I did Daredevil, and everyone fucking hated me for it. I was a meme for years. And then he came, and they're like, no, like, here's the role, it'll be good. And if you watch BVS, like, that character's horrible, but his performance isn't bad by any means. Like, he tries, at least, with what he's given. But then he's the laughing stock again in Justice League and BVS.
Yeah,
it's
because
like, why would any of these actors want to do it?
I can't even speak today. I'm so fired up from this fucking thing. Yeah. But the tones are so jarring between all of those movies. Where like it's like I said in the first podcast. So it's like in Man of Steel, they made a lot of errors. In the second movie, instead of writing a coherent story, they try and take all the plot points that sucked in the first movie and address them in some manner in the next one. Same thing happened with the Suicide Squad. Same thing happened with Justice League. And it's like you can't operate effectively on that kind of level, because all that is basically you trying to say sorry to all the critics and audience members that you give the middle finger to in your first bout.
And then your movie sucks again. So
Exactly. And it's like, you know, if it had even been fucking entertaining, even if they had all those errors, it would have been fine. But like, they just have IMAX sequences not to shock and awe you, but basically to trick you and think that the movie is better than it is. Where it's like, and actually, Ralph the Movie Maker did a great point about this in the what I think it was his Man of Steel video or his actual Justice League like long video. The IMAX moments in something like Man of Steel are not to like shock and awe, like, oh my god, this is like a sublime experience.
Yeah,
they're to draw attention away from the plot. And like the best example of that is when Clark's father dies, when Kevin Costner dies, instead of like in the actual Superman mythology when he has cancer or when he gets like hit by a bus or
he has a heart attack usually.
Yeah, heart attack or gets murdered in some like quiet way. they have him blow away in a Category 5 tornado.
For no reason.
Yeah, and it's just, it's a way to just have another selling point for this toxic piece of crap that you made.
Yeah, and also, like, what the fuck? If you watch the Richard Donner Superman, right? I don't know, have you seen that recently? It's okay if you...
Maybe like 2 or 3 years ago.
2 or 3 years ago. Yeah, like, the big thing is he's talking to his dad peacefully, and his dad has a heart attack, right? And at the funeral, young Clark is like, all the powers I have, everything I can do, and I couldn't save him. Yeah. Yeah, and that's the fucking point. But he could have easily saved his father. He chose not to, and they make that a big fucking point in the movie. But why am I going to relate to a guy who listened to his dad, who his dad's so paranoid about the government and the society finding out about him because he's an alien, that he doesn't save his own dad?
Yeah, because honestly, like, you know, Superman is... and this is the thing that's actually really weird about this, too. Okay, so... Superman is scared to death of the world finding out who he is, right?
Yeah.
Because obviously he's Clark Kent, and which obviously you can point fun to the fact that his only mask is basically glasses that he wears as Clark Kent, right?
Yeah.
So, but to have that kind of mentality in Superman and then have him just not wear a mask in Man of Steel, to me it made no sense, because if he's that shocked and if he's that afraid of people finding out who he is, then why the fuck would he ever not wear a mask?
Yeah. He just comes out and looks like Henry Cavill, and that's fine. And also it's weird because everything that I've ever read in the Justice League cartoon and the Superman the Animated Series and every like All-Star Superman and all these great Superman comic books, right? Like the conclusion Clark always comes to at the end of the story, it's always an internal conflict, because of course there's no real physical threat. Like, he can fight Zod all day, but he's a superhero, he's gonna win. But like every internal conflict has been, I am an alien, I get treated like an alien, but deep down I am really Clark Kent. Like, Superman is the strong persona that I have, and I am the most compassionate person. But I also want to be human. Like, I want to dress up like a reporter. I want to hang out with Lois. I want to go for pie at Ma Kent's house.
Yeah.
And just for filmmakers, an entire studio with, there's probably thousands of people that worked on that movie. You know, for nobody in a position of power to be like, hey, I think we're doing this wrong when they read the script, it's just ridiculous to me. I think this is the wrong take on Superman, that no one thought that.
Yeah, exactly.
Or no one...
Yeah, and so you bring up a good point. I think I actually might disagree with you a bit, because, like, have you ever seen Kill Bill?
Yeah, and that rant about how Superman's
basically. Yeah. So in Kill Bill Volume 2, there's that awesome scene with David Carradine, who, you know, aside here, gives one of the best performances fucking ever as Bill in that movie. But
he says that, like, Clark Kent's the critique on like people. Clark
Kent.
Yeah,
but basically it's like, so they have Superman, exist in obviously mythology, and Superman is his real identity, but the identity he makes up to help people is Clark Kent, which is really profound, because he just tries to embody the best parts of humanity. And if you look at Clark Kent, he's meek, he's timid, he's shy, but he loves everybody, and he's
like everybody's best friend. Yeah,
exactly. And so when you have Superman, even though he retains all that compassion because he has that, I guess, that human side to weigh him down, he still feels like a fully fleshed out character, because even though he can, stop a bullet with his bare hands or get shot in the eye and he doesn't hurt him, he still has that foundation of compassion that he gets from, assuming the identity of Clark Kent. Yeah. And you don't get that. Like, honestly, you don't even see Clark Kent act like Clark Kent until the last 15 seconds of the movie when he works the Daily Planet.
Yeah, and then like the whole argument that I see, because I made a video, I did Man of Steel v Winter Soldier, saying that, like, if you look at Captain America, who's a Boy Scout, but they made him fucking incredible in the Marvel movies. Like, that's such, you could take that template and do it with Superman and be great. But
yeah, exactly. And you honestly voiced something that I've thought for fucking years about Man of Steel and about some of the Marvel movies. They don't change the heroes; they change the world that they exist in, and they have to deal with that, right? Yeah. So, I mean, with like Man of Steel, they still depict Earth as, like, subject to all these alien invasions,
and it's like post 9/11 America, like
exactly
paranoid and
exactly. And so instead of having Superman be the consistent part of things, they have the world be consistent, and he's the one who feels like an alien. Not just the fact that he's an alien, but he's an alien the fact that he's thrust into this world and truly does not belong. Like, it's so crazy because, characters that are not nearly as iconic as Superman have been treated better and have been treated more consistency than this one.
Like Captain America, who's iconic maybe back then, but wasn't really relevant at all when they made the movies. Like, there was no, like, of course there were hardcore Cap comic fans, but he wasn't like I doubt everyone like knew his character. I doubt like anybody could name that Captain America is named Steve Rogers as they can now. But it's just weird to me. It's just weird that no one thought like, because when did Captain America come out? The first one, like 2012?
2010,
maybe.
I think it was 2010. Avengers came out in 2012.
12.
So
okay.
A year or two before that. And
when
Thor was
did
2011. So yeah, it was 2010 for sure.
And when did Man of Steel come out?
2013. So 2013.
So the first Captain America movie had come out though.
Oh
yeah. So it's just weird that they didn't look at that and be like, oh well, Chris Evans plays this Boy Scout, but he's the most like caring, compassionate. Like you have Downey, who's like a smartass, and he goes through his arc of becoming like humbled and becoming a hero, and then you just have this like Captain America movie start out with some cheesy, like Nazi goof where he's like the Red Skull pulls up in his car with his logo, and then like they're looking for the Cosmic Cube, and it's completely comic book goof, and you get to this scene where it's like they're all reading the newspapers, and then you see like CG'd Chris Evans, and he's so skinny, and he says like, "Ma'am, sir, I don't want to kill anyone. I just don't like bullies." And it's straight from the pages. It's straight Boy Scout, and it works. It fucking works fine. Like you didn't need to make Superman cool. You could take the Boy Scout and put him on the big screen.
Yeah, and I feel like they were so afraid of making him boring that, like we said, they bastardized the actual motivation for the character.
Yeah.
And so like it goes to show that, while different interpretations can be great, like, so I did my video essay on Thanos, which is like the different interpretation from the comics actually serves the story really, really well in the movie, as opposed to the comics where he's this brooding guy who is a lover boy for death.
Yeah, which would not work on the big screen. There was like probably no way they could pull that off well.
Yeah, without being super cheesy, because they're gonna have like a skeleton girl with big tits,
and he wants to wipe out half the universe for this girl. It couldn't work.
Yeah, exactly. But and then you compare that to something like Superman, where it's like it's a different interpretation, and it doesn't enhance any motivations. It actually just gets rid of them, which is just shitty because you have to motivate actions, and like we said a million fucking times, like you can have interpretations that are different, but you have to earn them.
Yeah,
you have to earn. And honestly, if they had Superman be a brooding guy after, like, let's say they did like a Justice League like Doom movie or something like that,
or like Injustice or some shit like that,
Yeah, where not only has his homeworld been destroyed, but literally everything on Earth has been taken from him as well, then I can understand him. I mean, maybe not to the degree that he is in the game or even the movie, but have him be jaded and have him be reticent and reluctant as a hero. But in this one, just nothing.
Yeah, you look at the Dark Knight Returns, right? And like that's what BVS is based off of. And you read that and you watch that movie, and even though Superman's like treated as this like ultra conservative Republican, like gonna listen to Reagan and take down fucking Superman, I mean take down Batman.
Yep.
He's still a Boy Scout. He shows up and he's like, I don't want to do this, Bruce. Like, please, like I don't. And then he worries about him when Bruce fakes his heart attack and comes to his funeral. Yep. Like even when Frank Miller, who like fucking hates Superman, obviously, like brings him into the Dark Knight Returns, he's still more Superman-ish than in Man of Steel.
Yeah, like you can have a dark, brooding interpretation, but it has to be founded on the motivations that the character has. It can't just be out of fucking nowhere. And
even Superman Returns, do you like that movie? I'm just curious.
I think that there are some things they definitely could have done right, but I think they nailed the innocent and the ignorant part of Superman for sure.
Yeah, and he's broody in that. Like he's sad, and he wants like Lois has a kid with another guy that turns out to be his kid, and that's all a little silly. But like he's sad, but he's still Superman.
Exactly. Yeah.
It still nails that character. Like that's maybe my favorite Superman scene ever put to film is when he flies up above and he hears everything. He hears like everyone's suffering, and then he just has to pick which one he goes to help.
Yeah, exactly. And
beautiful stuff.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I love that scene because it innately shows the conflict of Superman, where basically no one has to say I can't save everyone. Like I'm only one person, even though I'm a god. And they don't have that heavy-handed aspect that any of the Snyder movies have of Superman. They just show they show don't tell in that movie.
Yeah.
No matter all of its flaws aside, like they actually have some symbolic representation of Superman that actually works pretty well.
Yeah, and like he's most comfortable and relaxed in the beginning of the movie when he's on the farm playing like fucking fetch with his dog. He still has superpowers, but he's comfortable there.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Yeah, like we should get into the recasting. Who are the picks? I'm curious. I'm fucking curious. Who do they want to re?
All right, let me pull it up right here. Okay, so I'm not sure if this is official or not. I'm sure this is fan speculation, but we can kind of like we can look at one of the two of these lists and we can talk about basically like the
for sure.
Yeah,
that'll be fun.
Yeah. All right. So this article is from Screen Rant, recasting Superman the DCEU after Henry Cavill's departure. So I'll link it below, of course, and give some MLA citations. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Ooh, and I'll save this tab, 15 things that make no sense about Superman. That could be afterwards. Perfect. Cool. Okay, all right. So basically what this is just I'm not sure if this is fan casting or not, but this is like 15 potential people that could
possibly play Superman.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So,
hit me with the names.
First one, Armie Hammer.
I mean, I can see it. I can see it for sure.
Yeah, I could see aesthetically that character, and honestly, like he could play a kind of innocent altruist pretty well.
He almost played Batman. He played Batman in George Miller's finished Justice League movie.
Really?
Yeah. He talks about it. Like they had the suit built. Like he was cast. He was supposed to be young Bruce Wayne. And like the more I thought about that, I was like, I could see that too.
Yeah, because like aesthetically he fits him. And what is he? 6'3", 6'4"?
Yeah,
he's like a
fucking
jack
huge.
dude.
Yeah.
And that, speaking of that is one thing I don't like about the Nolan movies. Where I mean, obviously, like that's one of the best interpretations of a Batman. But aesthetically, he's like what, like 5'10", 5'9", or something.
Yeah. I never for a second like I'm gonna get so much shit from this in your comment section, but the weakest link to me in The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises is like Bruce Wayne, Christian Bale. Just like his performance in those movies really takes me out. His Batman performance. I just don't buy him as Batman.
Well, as Batman or Bruce Wayne?
I think he's... Okay, my issues with Bruce Wayne in that movie come from the fact that Rachel is such an underdeveloped character, and the entire Dark Knight Rises hinges on the fact that Bruce was so depressed and so upset about Harvey and Rachel that he was a shut-in for 8 years. Like, right there, they lost me a little bit. And I feel like he does... Bruce Wayne in The Dark Knight, to me, is just underwritten. Like, the Joker's the center focus. But Bale does the best he can with the Bruce Wayne character. But I hate him as Batman in both those movies. As, like,
where are the other drugs going?
Yeah. That's pretty good. That's pretty fucking spot on.
Yeah, that's one talent I do have. Impressions of something that I'm actually pretty good at. Like, but all right, beside the point. All right, so Armie Hammer. I think that if they did pick him and they dyed his hair a little bit and they actually, I mean, obviously not CGI his face to look like Ben Affleck, but like if they took some careful consideration to make him, segue into the Bruce Wayne role smoothly, I think that would actually work pretty well
for Batman.
Yeah.
Oh,
not Batman. Superman.
Yeah. You said Bruce Wayne. I was like,
sorry. I mean Henry Cavill. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. But honestly, for Batman too, to be completely honest.
Yeah, he could do both. Yeah.
All right. Theo James, the idiot from the Divergent series.
Oh, fuck that shit. Next.
Fuck no. Nope.
Yeah,
next.
yeah. I didn't know who he was until you said from the Divergent movies, but no.
Yeah. Absolute cinematic abortions for sure. Okay. Next, John Krasinski.
You know what? I could see it.
I could see it too. I want him to play Mr. Fantastic in the Fantastic Four more.
Me too. That's like my pick. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's perfect in that role. But I think that he could actually, like, most of Krasinski's roles, with the exception of like that Michael Bay, whatever the fuck movie, are pretty innocent and pretty nonchalant. Not nonchalant, but
they're like very
optimistic.
human roles. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I could see it for sure.
Yeah, and plus I'm a huge Office fanboy, so that'd be pretty sweet.
I never watched The Office, man. I'm a hack. I know. I'm like the one kid in my fucking generation who didn't watch The Office.
Dude, you gotta Netflix that shit, because honestly, most rewatchable show of all time. But I digress.
I've heard, yeah.
Michael B. Jordan, no, because like okay, the I'm not saying the black actors can't play white roles,
but that's Superman. I think that's like I mean we're two white guys talking about this, but everyone's like Idris Elba could play Batman and like Michael B. Jordan could play Superman, and like I don't know, I just can't like that those characters are inherently like he's a Kansas farm boy who's like just this like white buff guy, and that's just what if they wanted to do like cast Michael B. Jordan as another role, in the DC universe for sure. I love him as an actor. Yeah, and he's Killmonger. He's fucking great.
But yeah, and also I mean like kind of on the same lines where for recasting you're looking for the smoothest transition possible. Yeah, and so like having him not only change the way he talks but also change races and also like change his height and his build, like that's just too jarring of a thing for the audience to even like buy into.
Buy into. even if they were rebooting, I just think that they need someone who just seems more Superman-ish to get people on board.
Yeah, I would agree. And this is no fault of, great actors like Idris Elba or fucking Michael B. Jordan, for sure. Yeah, but I would go. All right. All right, page 2. Darren Criss.
Who is that?
Oh, this is the guy. So, did you watch the Versace like miniseries on FX where it's like
no.
So he looks kind of like Brandon Routh, but he has a little more of a baby face than he does.
I'm searching him right now. What's his name?
DARREN space CRISS.
Okay, I got a picture. I've seen him in things before. Like
he's a pretty good actor, man. He actually is a very good actor.
I could see it. He looks like he has like the sensitivity that I need for Superman in his face.
Yeah. He's got more of a baby face than a lot of people on this list. All right, let's see. Jamie Dornan. Jamie Dornan's the guy in the 50 Shades trilogy. Yeah.
Apparently he's like a decent actor, but he just sucks in those movies.
Well, I mean, of course. I mean, they weren't looking for good actors.
Yeah, good actors. Is he short? I feel like he's short. I got the sense that he's short.
They don't have his height on. Let me see. This is kind of creepy that I'm doing this, but fuck it.
No, it's not. That's my big thing. Like, if you're casting Batman, Superman, and that you get like short actors, I immediately am like, oh, why?
He's 6 feet. He's not.
He could pull it off.
Yeah, I think so.
He's so wooden in 50 Shades, and that's all I've seen him in. That like I would say like fuck no right now, but apparently in other movies he's been really good. So
yeah. I've heard that he's actually a pretty decent actor, to be honest. But yeah. I think that he could be okay. Alexander Skarsgård. Nope.
Isn't that Tarzan?
Yeah, fucking Tarzan.
No, he was wooden as hell in Tarzan, that movie, which wasn't.
And not even that. I just don't. I don't see him assuming the role of Superman in an effective way. To be honest with you.
No, neither do I.
Yeah, no, none of that. Sam Huggan, Heughan.
What does he look like? I'll look him up right now.
He's got kind of he was in Outlander from Stars, and he's got kind of a derpy face.
Sam Hoggan?
Heughan. Okay. Hughan? Hohen?
Okay, I found it.
Eh.
Is this him? QC?
Yeah. He looks kind of like older Peter Parker than fucking Clark Kent.
Yeah, I don't see Clark Kent.
Yeah, I don't buy it. All right, let's see. Charlie Hunnam. I like as an actor, but not a Superman.
No, like maybe Green Arrow, but not like.
He could play Arrow or Speedy for sure.
Yeah, I think so too, but not Superman.
Yeah, I agree. And that's all there is in the list. All right, so if we're going back, then we say that who could actually pull it off. I think that John Krasinski could pull it off, even though I want him as a different role for a superhero.
For sure, he can pull it off.
Yeah. Armie Hammer dyed his hair, and they made him, go into that role smoothly. I think he could. Theo James, fuck no. And Darren Criss, I think, is the only other one on the list that we actually said that,
maybe.
And maybe Jamie Dornan too.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I can't even think of any actors off the top of my head that are like that's my fan pick for Superman. Just like off, like my only fan pick for Batman was John Hamm or Michael Fassbender. Those are my two.
Oh, John Hamm would be sick as Batman.
Yeah, and he said he wants to do it too, but they're doing younger Batman. Fassbender has been my Batman pick for years. Just like I want that acting. I want that fucking Fassbender acting put into a Batman role. That'd be phenomenal.
Yeah, for sure. But I think like aesthetically and also just like John Hamm, we've seen him play an arrogant rich guy to a T in things like Mad Men and also things like Bridesmaids too. He plays an arrogant asshole in that as well.
And I think his chin would look good in the cowl too. I feel like he could bring.
Oh, for sure, 100%. But yeah, man.
I want unknowns now for like most roles though. Like they should cast some. Well, Cavill was mostly an unknown when they like cast him as Superman. I think he did The Immortals.
Oh yeah. That was another like Zack Snyder-esque kind of movie.
Yeah, it was like a rip on. It was like a rip off of 300. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I would agree that I think that unknowns are probably the best way to do this. As long as they look aesthetically similar to Henry Cavill, I think that's the key there. Because like we've seen what jarring screen castings after the fact can do to a movie, like with Rachel in The Dark Knight replacing Katie Holmes. Which, of course, Katie Holmes, I was happy to see her go because she's an abysmal actress. But Maggie Gyllenhaal, she has a derpy kind of like candor in films, and also like the character wasn't that well developed, so that recasting kind of fell flat.
Yeah, but the best recast of all time is Don Cheadle as Rhodey, because
for sure,
when he fucking shows up in Iron Man 2, he says the Downey, he's like, "It's me, I'm here, deal with it," and like it's so fourth wall break, but it's just like such a fuck you. Stop like making articles about the goddamn recasting of Terrence Howard. That it's just great, and I think he's much better anyway.
Oh no! Oh, for sure. They brought in like the best parts of Terrence Howard's character, like that he established, like the kind of like no nonsense kind of thing. But I mean, Don Cheadle's it up a little bit. Which is, great.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. They're in a huge pickle, and
it's dead, man. It's dead.
Yeah. So that's the last thing I wanted to talk to you about. So we talked about Batman last time, and basically what we see for the DCEU and what we see for just all these characters. I had some hope that maybe they could find a way to do some kind of like timeline shift or some kind of like soft reboot in the franchise. With this though, symbolically and explicitly, I don't think that they really have a chance of salvaging this, unless this is all people trolling and like this is not an actual thing.
It could be a ploy just for Cavill to get more money, and it could work. We don't know that for sure.
Yeah, actually.
But I don't know, man. Here's my theory. I think that the guy... do you watch any of the CW shows?
No.
Yeah, some of them are horrible. They start off good. Like, I love fucking Flash Season 1. I recommend it. It's like Sam Raimi Spider-Man type goof.
Really?
But it's great. It's great. But they all get pretty bad as they go on. But anyway, the guy who played Superman on Supergirl, who was like from Teen Wolf, is really fucking good at the role. Like, he's everything that we both miss about Superman on the big screen, on the small screen. And I think that now that if Cavill's really out, I think there's going to be a Superman show with that guy on the CW, or there's going to be a Superman show on the new DC streaming service. I think that until Matt Reeves makes his Batman thing, I think there's a high chance that Batman will be in Titans on the DC streaming service. And I just think that the movies are going to put these big characters aside because they really don't know what the fuck to do with them, and it sucks.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, they're the most iconic, not just superhero characters, but just characters, like period.
Yeah.
Fictional characters. So if and this will be the last thing, operating under the assumption that Cavill is in. Mm-hmm. So let's just think about maybe this is all a ruse to him to get more money, and he's actually going to like say, "Oh no, I'm staying in the role."
Okay.
So what would they have to do to salvage the shit mess that is Superman's character?
All right, I got a pitch. I got another pitch.
All right,
pitch
let's do it.
Week. Okay. So a little director got fired from a big franchise recently.
There we go. I thought you were going to bring it.
Yeah. Got fired from a big franchise recently. And I think that if Cavill came back and they got my fucking boy James Gunn to come in, who could nail Superman, I think if they gave him the chance, could just get everything, make him fun, make him not boring, give him some realistic flaws that people can relate to, and still capture the heart of the comics. And you do a softcore reboot where, like, maybe you mention the fact that he killed Zod, maybe you don't. But all that matters is he's Superman. He's in Metropolis. You finally give fucking character to Amy Adams, one of the best fucking actresses on the planet. You give her some things to do. Cavill's back on board. You get a director like James Gunn, Matthew Vaughn. Get my boy Sam Raimi. Drag him out of retirement to do Superman. Because he would nail it too. Then you steer it. You make the best fucking movie you can possibly make. It's a cultural phenomenon. At the very end of the movie, you have Superman fly past Earth and smile at the camera again like he did way back in the Richard Donner movie. Like, this is Superman, he's back, Henry Cavill's back, and he's gonna fucking nail it. People would love it. People would like go in flocks to see it if it made you feel good, because that's what Superman does, is make you feel good. That's like the point of him.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And so for villains, I think that this is actually one thing that if they do continue with Cavill Superman, they honestly have like the best villains ever. Most of them are like the best villains ever written, and I think that like, in order to have that dichotomy of like that fun-loving Superman that we all want, and then also have him face a grave threat, I think Brainiac is the only villain that can actually do it.
Of course,
yeah,
Brainiac.
Because it shows that your strength and brawn means shit when you have something that basically is 50 steps ahead of you at every single turn. And so that would be something that, honestly, like we saw that a little bit with something like the Dark Knight and the Joker, because the Joker's always 10 steps ahead. But to have an omnipotent, like, supercomputer essentially as your villain,
and
that would be...
he's the least human Superman villain, and that's a perfect, like, to make Clark feel so human.
Dichotomy, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. There's the nice contrast that you need.
Yeah, we should collaborate and write that script, man. I think we could do a pretty good job with it.
I'm a nerd now. I'm 30 pages into my Superman script. I've been writing it for years, ever since I saw Man of Steel. Yeah, and the villain's Bizarro, and the only reason it's Bizarro and Luthor, but it's Luthor done right. I just wrote it for fun. But, like, the reason the villain's Bizarro is because he represents BVS Cavill. Like, that'd be so cool. Is, like, you have this angsty, like Bizarro turns dumb. You'd start him off as just a clone of Superman, but you have him be this, like, angsty, brooding Superman, just as a contrast, and that's the villain of the movie. So so that's, like, Warner Brothers, if they made that movie, which will never fucking happen, but it's them acknowledging the fact that, like, oh, that's not Superman.
They're their own worst enemy, basically.
Yeah, and that's, like, a perfect apology, because they fucking do need to apologize for ruining Batman and Superman.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, I'm not counting eggs for the hatch, though. They could very well ruin Shazam and Aquaman as well.
I hope. I don't know. I love James Wan, and I think Aquaman looks pretty solid.
Dude, James Wan is, like, he's very underrated with, like, crafting really, really awesome narratives with characters you actually care about. Like, I mean, say what you will about the whole Saw franchise, but the first Saw is a brilliant
solid
caper. Yeah. And, like, he actually gets you to care about people that, even if he didn't get the best performances out of Carrie Ells or Leigh Whannell, like, he still writes their motivations into the script where you actually give a shit about their characters.
Which
is,
and some
like,
of the
really
camera
impressive.
work is, like, so slick. He's, like, really good at. Such a good, like, I'd say he's an auteur. Like, he has a very distinct style, and
for sure.
he never gets respect he deserves. But I feel like Aquaman, if Jason, I'm not, like, a big Momoa fan, so I'm worried, because everything I've seen him in is, I watched some of Game of Thrones. I've never watched past season 1 because I'm a hack, but and
I haven't seen any of it, so don't worry about it.
Okay, good. And everything I've seen Momoa in, he's been pretty stiff, and, like, even in Justice League he's stiff, but that's because the character was stiff. But if Juan can get, like, a really good performance out of Momoa, I think Aquaman will be good. And Shazam looks like the Superman movie we should have got tonally.
Yeah.
But I'm hopeful about those movies, but I just don't think that we're going to see Superman or Batman on the big screen until Matt Reeves makes his movie.
Yeah. Do we have a release date for that again? Is it 2020, 2021?
He just tweeted that he turned in his script, so the rough draft of his script, so probably a long time for now.
Oh, probably at least, like, 2 or 3 years.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. And he'll take his time, so that'll be good. But
oh yeah, trust me, like, if they're actually going to do these characters right, I don't mind waiting another 3 or 4 years for each of the movies, because, like, I want them to actually put time into the script. I mean, that's what Marvel does so well. They spend over a year on pre-production, like casting, writing the script, storyboarding, making sure they have all the artists for all the CGI and shit all ready to go. Like, and so they were so desperate to capitalize on the cash cow that is a cinematic universe model.
And they were just like, oh, Batman sells tickets, let's put him in the movie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, Marvel, like, they have Kevin Feige, who actually understands all the characters, and he also understands what sells movies. So have a businessman who actually is a legit fan of the comics come in and do something like that is, I think, a really good move on their part. But let's hope that Warner Brothers wisens up soon, and, like the first podcast, hopefully someone can link this to them and both of our respective fan bases. And, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Hopefully they fucking get their act together.
Let's end on this sad note and just cry. Let's just cry. Have a group cry.
I'll fade in some sad music. While we're talking right now.
Good.
Superman, we need you, man.
I actually am, like, I feel like I've become more cynical since Superman hasn't been portrayed right on the big screen. Like, my most excited moment, I'll shut up so we can end this, but the most excited I've been, besides Spider-Man PS4, which obviously, if you watch that video, I'm, like, freaking out the whole time, was when I watched Supergirl, which I wasn't watching, like, regularly at the time, because it wasn't, like, I'm not a huge fan of the show. Yeah. But I heard Superman was coming to it. I watched Superman, and the first thing he does is fucking smile and rip off the damn shirt and fly and catch a plane on Supergirl. And I was like, well, they got it. Like, they got it. The CW understood it with, like, the budget of the lunch budget of Man of Steel. They understood how to do Superman.
Yeah, honestly, it shows that, like, you don't need a fucking massive studio behind you to get a character right. All you need is basically, like,
smart people and creators who care.
Smart people, fans of the actual comic book, and then a director that actually has investment in portraying the character correctly. So
and doesn't want to just do it his own way. Which is fun because I'm all for Zack Snyder making a movie about an alien who isn't accepted, but like you don't need to make a Superman movie that way. You can make your movie about an alien, but
yeah. Anyway, man, this has been fun again, and obviously we have some fruitful discussions. So I definitely want to have you back on, of course. And
cool.
you know, we might bring my friend Abdallah or another guest or something like that, where we can have, I mean, not a debate, but like we can have like a 3 people with differing views, kind of go at it with
spitball the whole time,
exactly, yeah, or just send dank memes for like hour and a half, 2 hours, or whatever.
Sounds fun to me.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you for listening to us, and we will talk to y'all later.
See ya.
Peace out.